What if the romance that you believed in was just an expertly constructed fantasy? What if behind the smiles, the Sunday dinners, and the discourse about unity, there existed a world of emptiness, hurt, and decades of domination? Christine Brown enters a courtroom, not for money, not for glory, but for something much greater. The truth. Fans saw her laugh, smile, and be strong for all those years. But what the cameras couldn't see is now pouring out in ways no one would have ever anticipated. The court falls silent as Christine enters, her shoulders weighed down, but her eyes unwavering. Across the room, Kody sits smug at first, his arms folded like a man who believes he's above it all. But the tension in the air is undeniable, almost suffocating. Robyn leans toward him, whispering something quick and hushed, while Janelle and Meri keep their distance, their expressions unreadable. It's not just a court case, it's decades of suppressed truth bubbling to the surface, a story so raw and emotional that once it begins, there's no turning back. Christine's lawyer stands, calm but firm, and addresses the judge. Your Honor, this isn't a case about property. It isn't about finances. It's about the price of emotional manipulation. It's about years of subterranean pain behind a public perception of harmony and belief. The words ring out in the room, drawing everyone closer, as if the walls themselves hunch forward to hear. Christine lowers her head, fighting back tears. This is her opportunity, perhaps her sole one, to actually tell you the things she never could when there were cameras on, and the family's reputation at stake. The truth you've been waiting to hear is about to be revealed. Don't turn away now, because each and every word Christine speaks will have you doubting all you believed you knew about this family. The judge nods, permitting Christine to go to the stand. She moves slowly, every step measured, as if she is holding in tow all of her past on her shoulders. She sits, breathes deeply, and for an instant the courtroom is suspended in time. Reporters rustle papers, fans whisper in the gallery, and Kody rests back with that same confident smile he has sported for years. But Christine does not glance at him. Once, instead, she gazes straight ahead, her voice soft but firm as she starts. I lived in a world where my voice counted for nothing, where my feelings weren't noticed. For years I told myself this was what I had signed up for, that if only I worked harder, smiled brighter, kept my mouth shut, things would improve. But behind the closed doors of our lives, I was shattering. The words hang poised in the air, and even those who doubted her can't help but sense the truth pushing through every word. Christine reaches into her bag and takes out a weathered leather journal. The edges are worn, the ink lighter in spots. She holds it up for the court to view. These are my words, my thoughts, my truth. I wrote every night I was lying awake, couldn't cry out. This journal has been my sole witness. Her attorney delicately sets it down on the evidence table, and Kody fidgets uncomfortably in his seat for the first time. The judge allows her to read. Christine opens a page where a small creased corner indicates something important. Her hands shake as she clutches the book, but her tone is firm. Entry October 12th. I felt invisible today. He looked at me like I was a burden, like I wasn't part of his vision anymore. I laughed at his jokes to feel connected, but inside I wanted to scream. I prayed for a moment of kindness, but instead I got silence. The room is utterly silent. Even the scratching of pens on notepads ceases. Individuals lean forward, are trapped in the raw emotion of her words. This is not testimony. This is anguish tenderly kept on paper, finally brought to light after years spent hidden in darkness. And here's the thing, once this kind of pain is heard aloud, it can't be unheard. It makes everyone who hears it have to decide. Do they believe the mask, or do they believe the voice that's been muted for too long? Christine closes the journal gently, her eyes full of unshed tears. I don't stand here to destroy anyone. I stand here to reclaim myself, to prove that my silence wasn't weakness, it was survival. But today, I don't want to survive anymore. I want to live. The words are spoken almost in a whisper, but they strike more powerfully than any roar could. At the other end of the room, Kody moves again, his jaw clenched, his natural confidence starting to crumble. Robyn lays a hand on his arm, whispering frantically, but his glare remains locked on Christine. For the first time in a long time, he doesn't resemble the man who's always in command. He resembles a man who's cornered, vulnerable. The judge looks at Christine intently, then nods for her to go on. Her attorney produces printed text messages, dialogues that fans never realized existed. Messages that demonstrate Kody brushing aside her concerns, jeering at her doubts, and instructing her to just be grateful when she sought love. The words are painful even written out, but hearing them read by Christine is heartbreaking. Gasps echo through the room. Even Janelle, traditionally measured and calm, puts her head down, her hand over her mouth. For her, it's not Christine's truth alone. It's hers as well. Years of the same silence, the same oscillation between doubt and dismissal. For the first time, Christine's words grant her the permission to claim her own hurt. This is the time the audience can sense in their very bones, because when one individual stands up with courage, it creates a ripple effect, and the truth will travel quicker than the lies ever did. Christine sets the papers down, her hand trembling, but never wavering her voice. I loved him, I gave my life to this family, to our dream, but love should not hurt this way. Love should not erase you. The courtroom, filled with strangers, suddenly becomes intimate, as if all of them have been welcomed into the most vulnerable recesses of her heart. And for the first time, even the judge slouches forward, his face relaxing, recognizing this is not simply testimony. It's a woman reassembling herself for the world. The courtroom is not the same anymore. The atmosphere is thicker, charged with something left unsaid, because Christine's initial words still linger in everyone's head. This is no longer merely a legal fight. It is the gradual dissolution of a family legend, a fact that existed all along, but was never brave enough to emerge into the daylight. Christine pauses for a second to compose herself. She places her journal down, clasping her hands together in her lap. Her attorney starts walking the court through her case, every word weighed and well crafted. Your Honor, my client lived years of emotional abuse. This case is not founded on anger. It is founded on fact. Tonight you will hear Christine's story, written, backed, and irrefutable. The judge inclines his head, face serene but interested. He has heard countless cases, but even he can sense the gravity of this one. The gallery in the courtroom, filled with reporters, admirers, and a few subdued family supporters, is leaning forward, hungry for every last detail. Some take furious notes, others simply observe Christine, waiting for what she will say next, the way an audience waits to hear the next line in a scandalous play. Across the room, Kody smooths his tie, his jaw clenched. He's always been the charmer, the man who based his existence on charm and domination. But at the moment, he doesn't seem invincible. He seems like a man weighing his next option, watching Christine carefully for signs of vulnerability. Next to him, Robyn leans in, her hand grazing his arm, her eyes nervously flicking toward the judge. Meri sits back farther, face impassive, but her silence akin to testimony. And this is where things get real, because finally the family dynamic is no longer being argued at a dinner table. It's being stripped bare under oath, where truth has nowhere to hide. Christine's attorney introduces the first bit of evidence, a string of text messages. On the screen, in front of everyone, are messages that indicate Christine texting Kody, seeking solace, seeking time, seeking attention. His answers? Chilly, cold, sometimes sarcastic. One message in particular blinks on the courtroom screen. Stop whining. You asked for this life. Be thankful for what you have. Gasps run through the gallery. Even the skeptics who came in exchange shocked glances. It's one thing to suspect neglect. It's another to see it in black and white, timed and irrefutable. Christine glances down, her lips quivering slightly, but she does not cry. She's cried enough in secret. Today, she's here to hold firm. Kody fidgets in his chair, his expression pinched. His attorney protests. The texts taken out of context, but the judge sustains. The evidence remains. Christine's words aren't memories anymore. They're evidence, incontrovertible evidence that cannot be explained away by charm or apology. The air thickens. Journalists scribble down every word, already seeing the headlines. Christine comes forward. Secret texts reveal decades of emotional abandon. The courtroom buzzes until the judge orders silence, reminding all that they are still in a court of law, and not at a show. Yet no matter how the room holds its breath, the truth hangs like smoke, which cannot be dispelled. And here's the thing, once the mask begins to slip, it doesn't tend to refit. Cracks in the narrative are beginning to appear. And now the audience is leaning forward, ready to see how far they'll open up. Christine's attorney introduces her therapy sessions now. Years of them, years of feelings of being invisible, working harder and harder to be met with indifference. Her therapist, who also takes the stand later, recorded patterns indicative of long-term emotional neglect. The clinical terms sound abstract, but in combination with the tearful testimony of Christine, they fall with a sledgehammer in the courtroom. Janelle observes unobtrusively. Her face hurt. For years she's held her own secrets. As Christine testifies, her grip on a tissue increases, her eyes shining. It isn't just the friend's narrative that's being revealed, it's hers as well. The shared unspoken between them engulfs the room, and to anyone observing attentive, it's apparent that Christine's bravery is opening doors in Janelle as well. The judge sits back, his forehead wrinkled in contemplation. It's only the beginning of testimony, and already the burden of the evidence is difficult to dismiss. He looks toward Kody, as though silently urging him to react. Kody doesn't budge, but his scowl intensifies, stabbing toward Christine like a knife. He's not accustomed to losing control, not accustomed to being the one put on trial. At least not in such a manner. Christine sees, but she does not stumble. She keeps her eyes forward, her voice soft but resolute. For years I told myself I was the issue, that if I prayed more diligent, worked more diligent, gave more sacrificial, I could gain his affection. But love isn't gained, it's given. And when it is withheld, in tiny shards you forget who you are. I forgot who I was. The gallery is stunned, each word sinking. Even the cynics, those who arrived believing Christine was bitter or vindictive, can't help but hear the sincerity in her voice. This isn't revenge, it's liberation. And this is the shift. Because when Christine takes her truth, the audience takes theirs too. It's no longer just her narrative. It becomes a reflection for anyone who has ever felt invisible, unheard, or unloved. Her attorney places a hand on her shoulder, and the room seems to hold its breath. The judge orders a brief recess, and the strike of the gavel reverberates in the charged room. Journalists scramble to file stories. Gallery goers murmur in huddles, and Christine sits, breathing slowly, her hands still clasped, as if grounding herself. At the same time, Kody bursts through the courtroom doors, his attorney close behind him, Robyn running to keep up. His face is flushed, his steps clipped. Reporters attempt to get his words, but he pushes them aside, cursing under his breath. For the first time, the man who constructed his persona on confidence and strength appears to be backed into a corner, as if the truth is pursuing him more rapidly than he is able to escape. Inside, Christine sits quietly, eyes closed for a moment. When she opens them, Janelle is watching. No words are exchanged, but the look says everything. You're not alone anymore. The recess is over. The doors open wide, and Kody sits back down, his jaw clenched, his fists bunched. The war is far from over. But for Christine, simply saying the word, simply reading her truth out loud, is a triumph in itself. And as the judge brings the court back to order, everybody knows one thing. This is not just a case, it's a reckoning. The second day starts after recess, but the atmosphere in the courtroom is different. There is no longer the usual silent buzz of whispers in the gallery. It tells you everything. People are no longer just observing, they're feeling. The case is not only an abstract war anymore between and Kody, it's personal now. Every word, every page read, is slicing through years of silence. Christine is back on the stand. Her attorney brings with him this time a small pile of dog-eared journals and sets them down gently on the evidence. The mere appearance triggers whispers around the room. These are not records. These are fragments of Christine's own world, recorded not for cameras or pictures, but to survive. The attorney picks up the first journal, holding it aloft. Your Honor, these journals chronicle my client's life for over a decade. They were written every day, in Christine's own handwriting, and they outline the emotional cost of her marriage. With leave, Christine would like to read some passages aloud. The judge pauses for a moment, then nods. Proceed. Christine picks up the book in her hand, her fingers tracing over the cover, worn and faded. She rummages through the page, pausing at one that is demarcated by a thin ribbon. The courtroom falls silent. Even the judge inclines slightly forward, feeling the solemnity of the. Christine takes a deep breath and starts. June 4th. He didn't come home tonight. I cooked the kids dinner, sat with them at the table, and struggled to maintain the laughter. But all I could think was the missing chair. He told me afterwards I should thank him, thankful for the family, thankful for the life he provided. But how can you ever feel thankful when you're hungry for love? Her voice breaks, barely, but she forces it on. The words ring through the courtroom, and you can sense them hit like rocks on all who are listening. She turns to another page. December 21st. Christmas is coming, but I don't feel any happiness. I asked him if he loved me, if I was important, and he laughed. He told me that I was too emotional. I smiled for the children, but deep inside I felt smaller than I have ever been before. Smaller than a whisper. The gallery is at a standstill. Even the reporters, schooled to remain objective, have dipped their pen, mesmerized by the brutality of the testimony. Robyn's gaze flicks anxiously in Kody's direction, but he remains stony-faced, his jaw clenched, his fists wedged under the table. And this is where the story takes hold, because when words flow from the heart, raw and unvarnished, and without there's nothing stronger or more Christine places the journal carefully down, her eyes brimming with, but she does not crack. Her lawyer, however, takes up the second journal and turns to a bookmarked page. Christine nods, showing she is ready. August 17. I made the effort today. I put on the dress he told me he liked. I prepared his favorite dinner. I chuckled at his jokes. But nothing. No flicker. No meeting of eyes. He stared through me as if I was invisible. I don't know how much more of this I can stand. To be living in a marriage in which I am already disappeared. Gasps whisper through the audience softly. For so many observing, the words do not only belong to Christine, they resonate with experiences they have experienced themselves. Moments when love became absent, when affection was traded for frigid silence. It is no longer her story alone. It is all of our story. Kody's lawyer protests in surprise, accusing the journals of being subjective, the rants of a bitter wife. But the judge doesn't get to make a rule before Christine gets up to, her voice calm but resolute. These are my words, written when I had no motivation to perform, no audience impressed. They are as tangible as the tears that fell on their pages. You may not declare them evidence, but they are my truth. The judge permits the journals to remain on record. Kody let out a harsh breath, frustration creasing his face. It's the first visible fissure in his armor, and the gallery doesn't. Christine handles one more journal, this one worn more than the other. The cover is cracked. The corners, she pauses, her hand shaking before opening to a page near the back. March 9. This evening I spoke to myself that I am not loved, I am endured, and I am vanished. If I don't escape, if I don't rediscover myself, I will cease to exist. I write this to remind me. One day, I will be strong enough to. The courtroom drops into stunned quiet. Some in the gallery wipe their eyes. Even Janelle, sitting quietly in the back, cannot suppress her emotion. Her lips compress, her eyes shining with tears. It's not only Christine's agony she's listening to. It's her own, echoed back at her in ways she's never had the courage to speak out loud. And this is the turning point. Because now the audience isn't merely listening. They're cheering for Christine, pleading with her to finally escape, to show us that survival can become strength. The judge finally breaks his silence, speaking softly now. Mrs. Brown, thank you for your candor. This court sees the strength it takes to utter such profoundly personal sentiment. Christine nods softly, her eyes on the judge, not Kody. Her muteness to him is deafening, louder than any argument could ever be. She spent years trying to get his attention, his approval. Now she does not require it. As the court takes a second short recess, the gallery is filled with murmured conversation. Journalists push out of their seats to type up reports. Headlines are already taking shape in their minds. Christine's diaries reveal emotional observers argue in hushed tones, some in defense of Kody, but many more visibly disturbed by Christine's statement. Kody, however, charges for the door, Robyn following behind him. He growls at his attorney, his tone harsh, near panic. She's distorting all of this. This is all bitterness. But there's no longer the same conviction behind his words. Their defense, almost desperate. Christine sits still, taking deep breaths, her journals neatly piled in front of her like armor. Janelle stands up from her chair and approaches, laying a light hand on Christine's shoulder. No words are exchanged, but the action speaks for itself. It's solidarity, it's both truth, and it's something Kody can't erase. As the bailiff brings the court to order, Christine adjusts her back. She's no longer the silent wife in the back. She's the woman who penned her pain, survived it, and now is speaking it into being for the world to. And as she comes back onto the stand, one thing hangs over the courtroom like a storm cloud. If her journals have divulged this much, what other secrets remain waiting to erupt? The room is different once Christine gets off the stand. Her journals, her word, her hurt, those stay suspended in the air like smoke after an inferno. But the fire isn't extinguished. If anything, it's just growing. Now it's Janelle's. She stands up slowly, looking calm on the outside, but tight with tension on the inside. As if she's been waiting years to do. For so long, Janelle was the quiet, level-headed one, the peace. But as she moves toward the stand, you can tell this is no longer about peace. This is about She sits down, casts a quick look at Christine, and then stares ahead, The judge inquires whether she will testify under oath, and Janelle nods resolutely. Her voice, soft though it is, has substance. Yes, Christine's attorney approaches. Miss Brown, would you explain to the court what you observed during your marriage, particularly about Christine and Mr. Brown? Janelle pauses only for a moment, and then exhales deep. I saw it. I lived it with the neglect, the dismissals, the way her needs were swept aside. We didn't always discuss it out loud, but we didn't have to. We both knew. We both felt it. The gallery leans forward, entranced. This is no longer Christine's speech. This is corroboration. This is validation. Janelle goes on, her voice more biting now. I recall evenings when Christine wept softly in the kitchen, having cooked supper for all of them. I recall when she attempted to connect, attempted to mend, and he wouldn't even glance at her. He treated her as a problem, when what she longed for was love. Her words slice through the courtroom, and for the first time, Kody interrupts, his voice booming. That's not true. You're twisting everything. The judge slams his gavel, silencing him. Mr. Brown, you'll remain quiet until it's your turn. Kody sinks back into his chair, his face red with frustration. Robyn leans in, whispering frantically, but his glare stays locked on Janelle. And that's where the tension sizzles, because Kody's tantrum doesn't appear to be confidence, it appears to be fear. And fear in court just makes the truth ring louder. Christine's attorney brings out a folder full of printed up text messages, pushing them down the table to Janelle. Mrs. Brown, can you verify if these were presented to you by Christine when they were received? Janelle glances at the papers, her expression growing stern. She nods. Yes, I saw these messages. I instructed her to save them. I told her one day she might be in need of them. The lawyer hands them over to the judge, then casts them on the screen for everyone in the courtroom. The letters come out in bold black print. You'll never be enough. Stop trying to come with Robyn. She's the only one who knows how to be a real partner. The room erupts in gasps. Even the reporters, usually neutral, exchange wide-eyed looks. The gallery whispers furious, until the judge bangs the gavel again. Christine lowers her head, tears finally spilling, while Janelle sits rigid, her lips pressed into a tight line. The lawyer continues, here's another. You're dead weight, Christine. You and Janelle both. If it weren't for Robyn, I'd be free from all of them. The room is charged with shock, electric with it. People move their heads in disbelief, as if refusing to believe what they see written. Even Meri, withdrawn and quiet until this point, has her hand over her mouth. Her eyes widen. Kody pounds on the table, his voice breaking. Those are private texts. They're being manipulated. His lawyer jumps up in protest, but the judge is admitted to accept the text into evidence, reminding him, Mr. Brown, your words are your word. And that's the nature of truth. It can't stay hidden forever. Once it's written, once it's said, it bears a weight no denial can remove. Janelle leans forward in her chair, her voice firm now. I remained silent for so many years. I reminded myself it wasn't my business, but seeing Christine suffer, seeing her lose herself, it destroyed me. And when I read those messages, I knew this wasn't a marriage collapsing. It was cruelty. Her sentences hover in the air like a verdict in themselves. Christine glances at her, tears shining, gratitude written all over her face. For the first time, she is not alone. The judge turns to Janelle and says, Mrs. Brown, in your opinion, was Christine emotionally abused during her marriage? The courtroom breathes. Janelle swallows, her voice steady. Yes, without any shadow of a doubt. And I think I was too. The gallery gasps once more. The case just blew up past Christine. It's now including Janelle too. The dam has opened, and the truth is pouring everywhere. Kody appears enraged, his face red, fists clenched so tightly his knuckles are white. Robyn appears shocked, her eyes flitting from Kody to the judge to the gallery. Meri drops her head, wordless, but her tears trickle down her cheeks, betraying her calm. The judge requests a brief recess, his face somber. The gavel comes down, but the impact does not shatter the tension. It serves only to heighten it. During the recess, reporters sprint out of the room, their headlines half-written. Dramatic texts reveal Kody's favoritism for Robyn. Janelle verifies abuse in Christine's case. Christine and Janelle sit together side by side now, their hands clutched together tightly. The connection between them, built over years in silence, is no longer deniable. The gallery regards them in awe, as if they are not merely witnessing a trial, but a revolution. And this is the segment that has viewers captivated, because the narrative isn't Christine versus Kody anymore. It's louder, larger, and more perilous than that. Now it's Christine and Janelle united, and Kody's whole world begins to break apart. When the court sits again, Kody will be required to testify. His words, his rage, his denial, all will be subjected to oath. But for now, as the judge rises from the bench and the courtroom is filled with stunned silence, one thing is certain: the power has shifted. Christine no longer stands alone, and Kody is no longer invincible. The gavel comes down once more, and quiet settles as the judge enters. The room is charged with a thick, pre-storm tension. Everyone is aware of what is about to happen. At the center of it all is Kody Brown, and he is now going to testify. He stands slowly, buttoning his blazer, attempting to show confidence. His expression is firm, but his eyes dart nervously toward the gallery, where cameras are already popping. He knows that every word he utters will reverberate far beyond this courthouse. The bailiff administers the oath, and Kody sits. His attorney adjusts his tie, smiling for him to remain calm. But calm is not Kody's forte. It never was. Christine's attorney approaches, voice crisp but controlled. "Mr. Brown, you've heard the testimony of your ex-wives. Do you refute the charges of emotional abuse?" Kody nods forward, his voice booming, aggressive. "Absolutely. They're exaggerating. They're bitter. They're rewriting history because they regret what they've done. I provided them with everything: a home, stability, children. And this is how they repay me? By dragging me through the mud." His words echo, but they fall short of his expectation. The gallery responds with uncomfortable murmurs, rather than sympathy. Christine looks down at her hands, Janelle shakes her head, and even Meri dabs at her eyes. The lawyer continues, "Mr. Brown, we have text messages, journals and eyewitness testimony. Do you deny sending these messages to Christine?" Kody's jaw tightens. "Those were taken out of context. They weren't meant to be cruel. They were me expressing frustration. Every marriage has fights." But the lawyer isn't finished. He clicks a button, and once again the projector lights up. A new message appears. "You'll never measure up to Robyn. Stop pretending you're her equal." The courtroom gasps once again, and Robyn this time covers her face with her hands, her shoulders shaking. Kody looks at the words, his voice cracking. "That's private. That wasn't meant to be seen by anyone except her." The lawyer is leaning to one side, tilting his head. "But it was seen, Mr. Brown. By Christine, by Janelle, and now by this court. Do you stand by those words?" Kody sputters, his face flushed. I was angry. It was just a moment of weakness. Everyone says things they regret." The judge cuts him off, his tone stern. "This court isn't about the occasional moment of anger. It's about patterns of behavior. Go on, counselor." And that's where the fissures in Kody's defense get wider. Because one moment of weakness is very different when it's repeated year after year. Christine's attorney walks back and forth slowly, then stops. "Mr. Brown, Christine accused you of isolating her, ignoring her needs, and degrading her when she complained of discontent. Do you deny it?" Kody pounds his hand against the witness stand. "I tried. I worked harder than anyone imagines. She was never happy. She wanted me to destroy everything I had built for the family just to make her happy. How fair is that?" His tirade rings out in the room, but the opposite effect happens of what he intends. Rather than strength, it sounds unstable. The gallery squirms uneasily, journalists writing manically. The attorney does not retreat. "So your defense is that Christine wasn't easy to please?" Kody sneers. "Yes, she was impossible. And Janelle, she followed her lead. They gang-stalked me, poisoned the family against me. I did everything I could, but they only wanted to destroy me." Christine peers up now, her eyes bloodshot but angry. The courtroom is charged, because in this moment, Kody isn't defending himself. He's showing us who he is. Then comes the blow no one sees coming. Christine's lawyer holds up a small device. "Your Honor, we'd like to submit an audio recording into evidence." Kody freezes. His lawyer jumps to his feet. "Objection. Where did this come from?" The judge adjusts his glasses. "Overruled. Proceed." The lawyer presses play. The room fills with Kody's unmistakable voice, sharp and venomous. "If you'd just keep quiet and do what Robyn does, perhaps I might respect you. But no, you wish to be the martyr. You want people to pity you. Well, guess what? I'm done with you." The words linger in the air like poison. The courtroom is silent as a tomb, with only a faint muffled sound of Christine's soft weeping. Janelle buries her face, great tears streaming down her cheeks. Even Meri, who has stood off at an arm's length, drops her head, her body quivering. Robyn appears to have been stunned, her lips shaking as she gazes at the floor. Kody lurches forward, his voice frantic. That was taken out of context. This isn't fair. But the harm is already done. The jury looks at him, their faces a combination of shock and revulsion. The judge scowls, clearly upset. And the gallery. The gallery is no longer whispering. They're staring at him openly, as if the mask has finally slipped. This is where the audience leans in closer. Because when a secret tape is revealed, he said, she said is no longer the story. It's about irrefutable evidence. Christine's attorney edges in closer. Mr. Brown, is that your voice? Kody's silence is damning. His lips form a thin line, his fists tightening, as his attorney attempts to whisper in his ear. The attorney parrots back, louder. That was your voice, is that correct? At last, Kody slurs. Yes. The word cuts through the room. It's not an acknowledgement. It's a breakdown. His own voice is the tool that demolishes his alibi. The judge breathes out heavily, visibly disturbed. Court will reconvene tomorrow. Mr. Brown, I highly recommend that you calm down. The gavel rings and suddenly the courtroom explodes. Journalists dash for the door, their headlines already made. The gallery hums with shock and outrage. Christine falls into Janelle's arms, trembling, but relieved. For once the truth wasn't shrugged off. For once it couldn't be denied. As Kody is led out, his face is white, drained of the spark he came in on. Robyn follows behind, carrying her purse, her eyes wet with tears. The world outside those doors awaits them, but within, the verdict seems all but scribbled. Christine sits in silence, her hands still shaking, but her face stronger now. The voices that used to shut her down are collapsing, one by one. And this is when they become hooked on watching for the long term. Because once the abuser's facade slips, you can't turn away. You want to watch how low he'll sink. The courtroom is heavier than ever when the judge asks for the next witness. Everyone's aware of whom it will be. The one wife who remained. The one wife who stood up for Kody when the others departed. The one wife he put on a pedestal higher than the rest. Robyn Brown, please take the stand. The room stirs. Reporters sit up straighter, pens at the ready. Christine glances at Janelle, their faces screwed up in equal measures of fear and anticipation. Kody fidgets nervously, pulling at his collar, as his face scrunches up in discomfort. Robyn stands slowly, her dark hair falling across her shoulders. She looks fragile, almost ghost-like, as if this trial has hollowed her out. She clutches her bag tightly as she makes her way to the witness box. The bailiff administers the oath to her, and she takes a quivering seat, her hands shaking. For a long moment she doesn't glance at Kody. She fixes her eyes on the floor, pursing her lips. Christine's attorney starts softly. Mrs. Brown, you've been called the preferred wife, the one that Kody put first among the others. You do agree with that assessment? Robyn's eyes flick to Christine, then Janelle, before settling on the lawyers. Her voice trembles. I don't know if I'd say that. But yes, Kody spent more of his time, more of his affection with me. I never asked for it, but it happened. The room murmurs. Christine blinks rapidly, holding back tears. Kody leans forward, scowling at Robyn, warning her silently to be careful with her words. The attorney goes on. Did you ever see Kody belittle or abuse Christine? Robyn gulps hard. For an extended period, she doesn't respond. Her chest heaves and falls, her hands twisting erratically, in her lap. At last she whispers, "Yes." The word is almost a whisper, yet it resounds like thunder. Christine gasps softly, Janelle clutches her hand, and Kody's face contorts in anger. And this is the type of silence that takes an audience hostage, because when the person you least suspect verifies the truth, everything shifts. The attorney pushes. Can you tell me what you observed? Robyn's eyes well with tears. He would compare them to me, all the time. He'd criticize Christine, telling her she wasn't doing enough. She wasn't enough. He told her she could never be the wife I was. I hated it. I begged him to stop, but he wouldn't. The gallery gasps once more. Christine's tears flow freely now, her body trembling as all those years of pain are confirmed in one savage instant. Janelle clamps her hand harder, her own face smeared with tears. Kody bangs his hand down on the table. That's a lie, Robyn. Don't you dare pervert this. The judge thumps his gavel. Mr. Brown, contain yourself. But Robyn doesn't let up. The dam has burst. Her tears flow as her voice swells, quivering but defiant. I stood up for you, Kody. I lost friendships with these women because I trusted you. I told myself they were just envious, just bitter. But I saw it. I heard it. You tore them down every opportunity you had. And I allowed it to occur because I thought that if I loved you, I had to keep quiet. But I can't anymore. The room is frozen. Even the reporters are immobile, pens suspended in midair. Kody glares at her, his face flush with anger, fists tight. Christine's attorney steps closer. Mrs. Brown, did you ever have to endure this kind of treatment yourself? Robyn's lips quiver. She'll almost deny it for a second. Then she cracks, her voice shaking through tears. Yes, behind the scenes, he'd tell me things too. That if I disobeyed him, if I didn't make him happy, that I'd be alone like the others, that I was his last opportunity, and that if I messed it up, it would be because of me. A gasp sweeps the courtroom. Even Meri, who has sat silently through so much of the trial, covers her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Christine's face is wet with tears, but there's a softness in her eyes now, a mixture of sorrow and strange comfort. For the first time, she knows Robyn wasn't just the rival, she was trapped, too. This is the emotional cliffhanger, when the presumed favorite finally confesses that she was never secure either. And that bombshell drags all viewers further into the narrative. Kody finally loses it, can't hold it inside anymore. He stands up from his chair, his voice thundering. You ungrateful liar. After all that I gave you, after I placed you above them, you turn on me like this. The judge bangs his gavel, yelling for order. The bailiff approaches, prepared to step in. But this time, Robyn doesn't blink. Amidst her tears, she looks directly at Kody, her voice calmer than anyone anticipates. You didn't give me love, Kody. You gave me chains, and I allowed you to lead me to believe they were present. I won't wear them any further. The courtroom is deathly silent. Kody sinks back in his chair, seething pale. For the first time, he looks small, cornered, desperate, unraveling. Before everyone's eyes, Christine's lawyer nods somberly. No further questions, Your Honor. The judge clears his throat, visibly moved. Then an announcement, short recess. Gavel strikes, and the room erupts in chaos. Reporters dash for the exit, yelling headlines into their phones. Christine and Janelle hug each other closely, both of them crying, as Meri approaches them wordlessly, her own eyes puffed but full of sisterhood. For the first time in decades, the women are standing together. Not as adversaries, but as survivors. Robyn remains in her seat, tears running down her face, as if the toll of her admission has leached all remaining strength from her body. Kody, on the other hand, turns to his attorney, hissing in a rage, but no one pays him any mind now. The story has changed, the mask is broken, and the man who used to own every voice in his family is now the sole one to be silent. And that is when the audience leans in, eager for what comes next, because the minute the loyal wife makes the turn, the game is over.